Buster Douglas dropping the puck last night in his hometown of Columbus, Ohio for the Blue Jackets. Buster Douglas, 30 years ago yesterday, shocked the world, knocking out the invincible Mike Tyson. And those are the images we saw on SportsCenter at the time. Remember, he didn't have the rights, so all he could do was flash the still frame. I still don't believe it when I see it now. That's Mike Tyson from Punch-Out. That's the guy you couldn't beat. He got beat by Buster Douglas. And so today's draft, inspired by the 30-year anniversary of Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson in Tokyo, the draft, the best knockouts of the 2019 season. I've got the trivia question for Big Cat. If he gets it right, he gets the first pick. Okay, so Buster Douglas, after beating Mike Tyson to become the heavyweight champion of the world, he would lose the belt later that year in his very first title defense. Who beat Buster Douglas in his one and only fight as the heavyweight champion?
Was it Evander Holyfield?
Well done.
Got it. Yeah, because it was supposed to be Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. That was supposed to be the big fight, and it didn't happen, when both were in their prime because of this loss, and then Mike Tyson went to jail.
Yes, and then Mike Tyson was never quite the same. And it's amazing. It was almost no fun to watch him. I remember the Michael Spinks fight, June of 1988. And I almost thought about it. Those were back in the days when I had no money at all. I almost thought about like going to that, because you could go to an arena and pay to watch it on closed circuit TV. It lasted 90 seconds. Best money I never spent. So that's how dominant he was. It was no fun. He destroyed everybody. And then Buster Douglas came along. All right, you get the first pick. Best knockouts of the 2019 NFL season.
Okay, best knockouts of the 2019 NFL season. I guess I'll just start with the most shocking knockout, the knockout that took the best team in the league during the regular season out of the playoffs. The Baltimore Ravens, 14-2, playing at home against the Tennessee Titans team with Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback. Could you imagine, like week 6, having that statement said to you that the Baltimore Ravens are going to lose as the 1 seed to Ryan Tannehill and the Titans? But it happened, and it was crazy, and it was shocking. And, 10.5-point favorites were the Ravens, and everyone thought that they were this unstoppable offense. And what a game plan by Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans to keep Lamar Jackson, in the pocket. He threw it, 50-plus times? Just a great game plan, and they took their shots, and they used Derrick Henry, and that was the shocking knockout of the season.
Yeah, the only one of the teams with a bye this year to lose in that divisional round. It seems to happen, like one a year. For a while, it was 50-50 proposition. More recently, those teams with the byes have won. So that made it even more stunning that the Ravens, who seemed to be the team of destiny, could not get past the Tennessee Titans. And what an AFC championship game that would have been between the Ravens and the Chiefs. I'm going to go 1 week earlier because I was on record saying you can't kill the Terminator. There's no way the Titans are going to go up to New England and end the Patriots' run. They've been in the AFC championship game every year since 2011. They're not going to get knocked out in the wild card round. They're not going to lose at home to the Titans. And the Titans went in there on a Saturday night, and they terminated the Terminator. They took down the New England Patriots. And look, it was a close game. It easily could have gone either way. But the Titans held it together. The Titans came out of there with the win. And it's one of those that, I'll admit I was wrong. And I still would pick the Patriots if they were playing again, because we've seen what the Patriots can do in those single elimination settings, which I think made what the Titans did even more impressive.
Okay, Mike. Decent pick, but I have a better pick because I'm going to go 1 week earlier from that. And the Miami Dolphins beating the Patriots in Foxborough, Week 17, as 17-point underdogs or whatever it was. Absolutely stunning loss. The Patriots never lose games like that. They never, ever, ever lose games like that. Tom Brady's record at home is eye-popping. And Brian Flores and Ryan Fitzpatrick coming to Foxborough. They beat the Patriots. And what did that do? Oh, how about decided the entire playoff picture and how everything would unfold, because if the Patriots win that game, they have a bye. They don't lose to the Titans. Your knockout punch pick, which was a bad pick now that I'm saying it out loud, they don't lose to the Titans. They get a bye. They get a home game, against maybe the Chiefs, who they would play for the second time, or whoever else. Then they maybe go to Baltimore and play the Ravens for a second time. Bill Belichick playing teams a second time. The Patriots could be sitting there in Miami looking at Super Bowl number 7. Instead, they lose to Ryan Fitzpatrick, and everything else changes. And everything else changes for the Chiefs, who they get home field advantage throughout the playoffs with the Ravens losing to the Titans. That was the butterfly effect moment. That was the sliding doors moment. That was the knockout punch of 2019.
See, now, I'm not going to be a jerk like you and just say I don't like your pick. I actually do like that pick. It's okay. We're allowed to cooperate here. It's okay to try to get along. I will say this, though.
You're not going to like my third pick if that's what you're thinking.
I don't like any of these picks from this perspective. None of the coaches of any of these teams we've discussed got literally knocked out as a result of the knockout punch. So I'm going to go a week earlier than week 17. I'm going to go to week 16, when the Cowboys and the Eagles got together for what became the knockout punch for America's team. The Cowboys, all the hype, they started 3-0. They're destined to make it to the playoffs. And then when it was clear that their division is basically 4 crap teams and all you have to be is the best of 4 crap teams, the Cowboys are going to win the division. No chance the Eagles are going to come back and win this division. No way. Dallas and Philadelphia, Cowboys got this. No big deal. Cowboys win it. Cowboys win the division. And the Eagles took them down. And Jason Garrett paid for it with his job. That is a knockout from 2019.
Okay, good pick, Mike. Good pick. I'm going to compliment you. That's a good pick. My third pick is actually me throwing it to myself, because we did this draft all year round. We don't have the package, but my third pick is just me going against you in these drafts. The Mike Florio getting knocked out week after week after week. Credit to you, Mike, for getting up. Here, you know what? Because you're going to say this is not a real third pick, I'll give you a slash here, and I'll give you a real third pick and my draft beating you every single week. How about the knockout punch Phil Rivers landed on Chris Jones? How about that? A literal knockout punch. Do we have the clip?
That was a rabbit punch.
That was a literal knockout punch.
Hey, wait, here's the thing. Is there like a package of like a montage of you like being a jerk to me during the drafts that was set up ahead of time that they were supposed to play? Is that what you're saying?
No, what happened was, and I'm not throwing anyone under the bus because everyone behind the scenes does a great job. There was so much footage of me wiping the floor with you, they didn't know what to do with it. They had to wheel it out. Like Steve Sable in the old school NFL films, they had to wheel it out. And it was like, what do we do with this? There's so much. The anthology is so large. So that was what happened.
I just want to register my objection. I was betrayed by this. No one told me about this. The control room has gone rogue.
We got it ready. Let's go. Let's
with
run
my mortal enemy. Here it is.
Written down. I didn't put it out there, Mike, because I didn't want to beat you too bad.
That's actually a great pick because, they're all great picks. Patriots.
They're all great picks.
Oh, yeah, I had Byron Wizard White. Yeah, Mike. No, this is such a bad pick. How do we do the rest of this draft? Because I just checkmated you. Stats, he's on the ropes. He's cut. This is sad.
I won this draft.
There it is. The knockout punch.
That wasn't a very good montage.
Again,
you knocked yourself out with that montage.
There's so much that they could use. And then slash Philip Rivers punching Chris Jones. So that's my third pick.
All right. Here's mine. Now, where did the Buster Douglas Mike Tyson fight happen?
Japan.
Okay.
Tokyo.
Overseas. Wasn't in the United States. So I'm going to go overseas for my next knockout punch. And it was fairly early in the season, but it was the moment that we could become confident that a certain defending division champion was fraudulent. It was when the then Oakland Raiders defeated the Chicago Bears in London. And we were stunned at the time. How could the Bears lose to the lowly Raiders? The Bears are good. Well, we would later find out the Bears weren't good. But at that moment, right? The Bears were a little Mike Tyson-y before then, but then the Raiders were Buster Douglas overseas, wrong direction, but overseas, and they knocked out the Bears, and that's when we first were on notice that maybe the Bears weren't going to be very good this year. Do you like that one?
You just called the Bears defending champs. I appreciate that. You did.
Division champs.
Division champs. Yeah, no, that's a good pick, Mike. Good pick. That game still frustrates the heck out of me. But I think that was one of those ones where, unlike Mike Tyson, where he was a deserved champion for many years, it probably showed more flaws in what the Bears are than being an aberration loss.
Well, and that's really the question for me for the Bears in 2020. Which team is going to show up? The team that won the division or the team that couldn't get out of its own way for most of 2019? We're going to get out of the way for a few minutes. Let's recap the draft first. Big Cat's got the Titans eliminating the Ravens from the playoffs as his first-round pick. The Dolphins beating the Patriots Week 17 to keep them out of their bye. Him dominating me in every draft of the year. That is a shock. I'm shocked that he would wedge that in. Rivers hitting Chris Jones, which was far from a knockout. Titans defeating Patriots is my first-round pick. That was in the wild card round of the playoffs. Eagles over the Cowboys Week 16 to knock them out of the NFC East. And then the Raiders exposing the Bears as the frauds they were by beating them in London.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.